Order, roll call please.
Manager Lowe,
Here.
Manager Schmaltz,
Here.
Manager Baki,
I am here.
Manager Taves,
Present and accounted for.
President Anderson.
Here. All right. Moving on, we have the setting of the meeting agenda. Is there anything to add? Mike, anything from you?
President, no, not that I'm aware of.
Okay,
I thought we were going to add, are you gonna do that yourself?
what's that?
Add the discussion on Mike's performance?
No, we're not gonna do it at this meeting. I think you were waiting for something, right? That's why you didn't put it on here. We talked about doing it, but I thought you decided not to. It's not on here, so.
Right, well, there's some other. You and I should talk about, yes, I just asked for correspondence from council.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, all right, we'll postpone that until the next meeting. I'll talk about the hiring under the report of staff. Actually, not that, but when the officers. I'll do it.
So the other
for
thing we
officers.
has come up, and we didn't decide whether to put it on the meeting or not, is the pizza pub issue with the parking issue. And whether, you've asked for some direction on set that meeting up. The more I thought about it, maybe we should discuss this, because some of it we probably have no business interfering with, and maybe the Lake Association would be better off involved. So, I mean, how they spend their money and whether they want to support a private business is up to the city.
correct, it's more, and this is, yeah, I don't, probably not a lot that we would want to add at this point. My input was more just from a programmatic standpoint, whether or not the district wanted to be
Let's
engaged.
do this so that the board's not sitting here and thinking, what are you talking about? Let's add it under the new business.
Great. That's a
All
good
right,
idea.
and we'll make that B.
No, I think we can do away with it pretty quickly.
I do too.
Okay.
So it's a pizza pub and Forest Lake City issue that Steve will bring up to the board, and we'll have a small conversation on it. The other thing that we should talk about is we did interview candidates for the business manager position. And so I'd like to put that as C. And we haven't hired what we interviewed, so we want to keep the board informed of that. Okay, so anything else from anyone? All right, I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as edited.
I'll second that motion.
Okay,
Manager Lowe. Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Taves,
Aye.
President Anderson.
aye. Okay.
Can I circle back to Manager Lowe?
Yes,
really quickly?
yes.
Manager Lowe.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have the consent agenda. And if there is anyone that wants anyone who wants to move one of the meeting minutes or all of them from the consent agenda, you can request that now. Okay, this is a consent agenda item, so without objection, this is deemed approved and accepted. Okay, we can move on. Public open forum, no one's here besides us, so staff and board. So we can pass on that. Advisory committee updates.
All right, President, managers, thanks for having me today. Attached is the meeting notes of the Comfort Lake Forest Lake Watershed District Advisory Committee. We met on Tuesday, July 15th, and we had a lengthy watershed update, lots of discussion about goings-ons throughout the district. We briefly went over the Watershed Champion Award. We selected some volunteers to review nominees with Adam Jelm. Then we had a brief discussion on the budget. So the CAC has expressed a lot of interest in this topic, and we'll be spending some time on this at a workshop on the 5th of August. So rather than meet at our regularly scheduled time, which would be August 19th, we'll be having our Bone Lake Pontoon Shoreline Tour that day. And so the CAC is elected to have a budget workshop on the 5th based on any materials the board is able to provide following the board's workshop on the 28th of this month. So they've expressed a lot of interest in the budget, which is great. Excellent to have them involved. We'll be discussing that further at the budget workshop on the 5th.
Can you clarify something? I might have misheard you. I thought you said that there's a pontoon trip on the 5th as well. Is that correct?
We will be having our Bone Lake pontoon trip on the 19th of August, which would
19th.
otherwise have been our regularly scheduled CAC time.
Oh, all right. All right, got it. But the budget workshop will be the 5th of August?
That's the plan right now, exactly.
Okay. Well, I will be there for that.
Excellent, thank you. I'll be sending out that. I haven't sent out information. We've just confirmed the date, so I'll send that out to make sure that all
Yeah.
managers are involved in that communication in
Yeah.
case they'd like to
Yeah.
attend.
Yep. Yeah, well, I just wanted to get it on my calendar.
Yep,
So I don't forget.
absolutely.
It's not on my calendar, I forget. It's like we're using a math in your head after using calculators for 20-some years, it becomes hard to accept the easiest ones on your, in your head. Okay, Minnesota watersheds, oh, excuse me, the next item is new business. And the first item is the Minnesota Watersheds Annual Meeting on resolutions and petitions notice. If there aren't that many resolutions, but if you have input on those, we certainly want to hear it. The main purpose of this is to either confirm the delegates chosen for the other meeting earlier in the year are going to be the same for the August meeting, or if you want to assign other folks to that. So, Mike, do you have more to add?
No, Madam President.
Okay, very good. Do you want to lead this so that you can walk people through what the administrators team is looking for, if there's anything?
Madam President, managers, actually, I have not thought there was gonna be much discussion other than just the topic of just the delegates at this point, so that.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. The meeting begins on August 25th. And that is at 10 a.m. It is going to be held by Zoom, so if that makes it easier for folks to make a decision, keep that in mind. The two appointed for the earlier meeting on this, and I forget when that was exactly, but it was February, maybe? March, thank you. March earlier this year was in St. Cloud. And Manager Schmalz and I were appointed, and something came up for him, so he didn't attend. But that's when we talked about this transformation of the way we handle legislative efforts. And I was the first legislative chair. And so when this was started, the subcommittee was started, that was my recommendation right from the beginning, because it was really difficult to have resolutions come to the annual meeting in December and then present that to the legislators in January. The session starts in January, and a lot of that pre-work, of course, happens in the fall. And so I'm really happy to see this change. It's going to make the legislative effort so much easier for us. We've been pretty successful over the years, but it's taken a long time for almost each item, somewhere between 3 and 4, I calculated one time. And some of them take even longer than that. So this is a good thing that's happening. The resolutions will be all decided or recommended, yes or no, by the board before long before that annual meeting. And so we have an opportunity to get some early action It's gonna be, I think, more effective next year when we get into the routine, but that's the whole point of it. And there's 22 delegates that must be present in order for this or this meeting to be held. And that's, what the bylaws, of course, recommend. So that's really kind of the background for it. Otherwise, we can jump right into the and there is there's a schedule here for September 30th. And, oh, that's just water one, I'm sorry, that's, no. The attachments. Oops, here we go. It's in the, it's in the legislative platform document. And so if you turn to that, you can see all of the recommendation or the submissions, excuse me, can't talk to me. And it gives you some background, it's broken down by category. So are there any, that's the history up front or the details up front. And then you've got the resolution starting. So all of the details are on the resolutions. And are there any that folks want to discuss in detail?
Madam President.
Yes.
Maybe just one thing for the board, that these are the same items that were discussed, council presented, a little summary. Early
March.
June or late May or something,
That's right, at our at our meeting.
right?
I don't see anything that's complex here at all. It's pretty much the same kind of legislative amendments that we've had in the past. So it's more on the cooperation with the agencies than it is on actual legislation. That's one thing that I think we talked about back in June. At least that was my understanding or my feeling. Chuck, do you have anything to add? Has anything come to mind for you that we should be looking at in particular?
Madam Chair, managers, with respect to the resolution regarding the DNR and MPCA permitting, I guess, I would say that it is a concern that, again, that we've experienced with a couple of our clients where the issue isn't the actual DNR decision, but getting the DNR to move their assessment and get to a point of making a decision. Just not being able to get clear information from the DNR as to what it needs to evaluate a proposal and what criteria it's going to apply. As the resolution, it's a bit of a grab bag. There's a number of different things proposed, and some I think may be helpful, some probably not. But my own thought is I don't see anything wrong with the resolution itself, putting the matter on the table for discussion and refinement, and using it as a way to have, move the discussion with the DNR, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
I would say as to the resolution regarding the Wetland Conservation Act exemption for drainage repairs, well, two things I would note. One is, as a pragmatic matter, in the last session, in the session before the one that just ended, Bowser was the proponent of a change to the exception that actually made it narrower, provided more protection for wetlands, and the resolution would directly reverse this legislative change that Bowser moved through in the last session, and then actually expand the exception further. So I'm a bit curious about that, because it seems that Bowser and the legislative sponsors of that legislation would be likely to oppose this new proposal. And beyond that, just as a, you know, as someone reading and thinking about it, which is your role and not mine, but it seems to be saying because it's technically difficult to assess the impacts that are going to occur from doing a drainage repair project, we're just going to exempt those impacts so we don't have to try to assess them. It seems, it seems doesn't line up very well. My question would be, isn't it just something where all the engineers and resources of the parties can get together and come up with best practices for making those technical assessments?
Okay, that's good input. I do have a comment about this one, though. This has been going on for a long time. And one time, at one of the meetings up north in December, the annual meetings, I went into the drainage seminar, and I wanted to try to determine what all the fuss was about in getting a permit to do this. And I came away even stronger with the notion that permits should be issued and should be required for these things. One of the things that came out, and this is a big group of people living mostly up north in Minnesota with big agricultural ditch systems. But what I found out in that session is that the culverts are not made to the extent of choices that used to be there. And so I'm just gonna use numbers. If a culvert was 20 inches, let's say, and it needed to be repaired, the only options that people have from, let's say, a choice of 20 different sizes, it's now down to about 4 or 5 that's standardized. And so you could have a ditch culvert that's 20 inches from, put in 30 years ago, let's say. And so when they come to do the repair, their choices have reduced down to, let's say, to only 25s are done, 20s and 25s are done. And so they could be putting in I use 20 as a number. Let's say that the choices now is only 25. They had a 20, now their choice is 25. So they have a big variance in the size. And if you're putting in something, I don't know where the break off would be from an engineering standpoint, but when it's 5 inches wider, you're going to have more water running downstream. So I thought it was still necessary, given that reaction, that we should always require that. And the other thing that they didn't like is the registry for a culvert, a ditch culvert. And that's also something, I think that goes every year, but I didn't see that language exactly, or forgot it when I read this a few days ago. When they don't require the registry, then what happens is you have to, I don't know where you go, but you have to go probably to the county and dig through all these old records to find out exactly what's happening. And that happened in the early, years of the beginning of the work that took place before the beginning of the watershed. Is we found in Chisago County, there were all these laterals that had been added to the Sunrise that were not recorded. And so a full survey had to be done to account for all of those. And it was pretty substantial. And the ditch board hadn't met, or the joint ditch board hadn't met for about 20 years. So to avoid that type of injury to a system and to the downstream areas, I think that type of control on these ditch systems needs to stay there. And if that means getting a permit and having an assessment for what that's going to do to downstream waters is necessary. So I'm against this one. Yes,
if I recall, I thought that, Council Holtman had written a summary on some of these in terms of
Mhm.
what he thought, what might be questioned. Did we ever send that to the committee on this thing, so they have that now ahead of time, or not? Does anybody recall?
I didn't send anything. Chuck, did you? Or Mike, did you?
No,
Well, okay, I think it might be worthwhile to send that to them ahead of time, and then the other question is, could we get a copy of that again? I guess I don't know whether I saved mine or not, but it'd be nice to have that if we go into the meeting.
Mhm.
Including your most recent comments, Council Holtman.
Yes, there's, I'll say, Madam Chair, managers, there's a little bit of a distinction in June. The question was, were there any edits to the resolutions that would be appropriate to make them more clear or more appropriate for consideration? And it wasn't at that time so much a question of, do we favor the resolution or not? So, and at that time, I did summarize, I did provide a summary, but on my, whatever thoughts I offered, it was about, are there some ways that these might be revised or edited to be more clear? And at that time, it didn't seem to me there was anything necessary. The question now is, you're about to vote on whether to adopt them or not. So now you're considering them on the substance. And I didn't advance my comments. I didn't believe you were asking me to do that directly. But I can certainly recirculate them or work with Mike and offer any additional thoughts related to the substance, if that would be useful to you.
Well, I don't know that we have to go through, I mean, we have to look at each one, but I don't know that, what we're looking for is something that's obvious to us that maybe it's off the track and maybe we should reconsider what they're recommending. So if we have a situation like that, we should probably have some advice on that, rather than leaving it up to the two representatives of the board. But I thought that, if you had some clarifications, I thought that would be helpful to the people rewriting those to make, we've invested that time and money in getting that input in. Might be worthwhile just still sending it in so they can consider rewriting it before the 25th. I'll leave it up to the board to decide, but if we've added some value, it'd be nice to share that value with other people, but.
I'm gonna make first of all, a change here just to address the delegate issue first.
Okay,
And then we make a committee of the delegates, Mike and Chuck,
okay,
to review these and see if there's anything that we need to do.
sounds good.
Okay, other than the one I just gave background on. I mean, I feel strongly that we should not support that one, but. Okay, so let's address the delegates first. And then whoever is assigned will be part of a committee, as I just said, with Chuck and Mike, and go over these in a meeting setting and make the decision for the board. Is that acceptable to the board?
It's fine with me.
I think so.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, good. Thank you very much. By consent, then, we will follow that action of delegates and the administrator and our council to have the meeting to look more deeply at these and make the determination on the stand for the district. Okay, so I said Steve and I were the delegates named earlier this year for that first round. What is your pleasure for the next round? Does anyone want to be a delegate of the three remaining folks? I'll start with you, Manager Baki.
No, I do not.
Okay, Manager Taves?
Is there an option for being an alternate? Because I would like to see more of this. I'm not sure how much more time I have to allocate for additional meetings, though. That's my concern.
Yeah.
it's at 10 a.m. as well.
Oh, yeah, that kind of wipes me out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, Manager Lowe?
No.
Okay. No, was that a no? Is that a no?
I think so, but I'm not
Correct.
sure.
Okay.
That was a no.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
It sounded like a groan.
It was a combination groan/no.
The baby was up last night.
Okay, so that means that you and I will continue.
And I'll just check my calendar, make sure I can do it on that date.
Yeah.
But I think I'm clear, but I'll let you know tonight
Yeah,
when I
okay,
get
that's
back.
fine.
Okay,
That's fine. 22 have to be present to meet the quorum required at the meeting, and there's 2, sometimes 3 per unit or per watershed, so I think we'll be okay.
okay.
All right,
President Anderson,
yes,
you, at last year's Minnesota Watersheds Annual Meeting, you may recall, you and I presented a resolution about the organization providing more PR as to how to initiate and establish a watershed district. And that did pass, you may recall. And I'm pleased to report that if you go on the Minnesota Watersheds website, they do have detailed information now about how to initiate and establish a watershed district. So you can see that these resolutions do make an impact.
yes, oh, absolutely.
Excellent.
Well, that's good. Everybody look on the website, make sure. Okay, so we can end this discussion tonight because Steve and I will continue as the delegates, and we've already agreed unanimously to create a committee with the administrator, the delegates, and our council. And,
Who's gonna lead that committee to make sure it gets done?
well, I will,
You go, okay. all
yes,
right.
and so we'll be organizing that in the next day or two. And make sure that we can pick let's say 2 hours, right? To review these and be done with it. Okay, very good. Okay, board, thank you. We're finished with that item. The next is the, Steve, if it'll be you, the pizza pub in the city.
Right, actually, Mike Kinney was the one that kind of brought this forward, but what has happened is that, the pizza pub has problems with not enough parking. So a lot of people were parking across the street, and then they were being cited by the city for not parking correctly. So what eventually the city got involved and tried to work with Pizza Pub to work out some kind of a resolution. And as it turns out, it appears like now they're going to put some gravel down and create 6 spots to park over there. And I think at one time the city was going to pay for it, but I think right now what's proposed is that it's gonna be a shared cost with Pizza Pub. So that's the one issue. And then the other issue is that Mike had suggested we make some recommendations about stuff that they might do to further enhance the water quality in that whole situation. So we've got 2 situations here. One of the questions would be is that, do we want to get involved, or should we get involved with whether or not, how the city spends their money? And the other one was how do we want to make any recommendations, or do we want to stay out of it in terms of moving forward with that small space in terms of the water quality? The unfortunate thing is that there was a lot of discussion at the meeting, and I think staff had given us a copy of that discussion entirety. And Pizza Pub knew that they were short of parking when they bought the property, and the previous owner had made arrangements with his employees to park downtown in the park, and then had a van pick them up every night or every day for work and taking them back after work. And he refused to do that, or didn't want to do it. So he has not been really proactive in terms of trying to work out a solution that might more logical sense. But I think Manager Anderson, you pointed out that the house was for sale up the street, that he could have bought that house.
Right next door.
Right, could have bought that house, converted it to parking, and that wasn't done either. So now we have the city spending public money on helping this guy get out of a problem that was his from the very beginning. So I guess the 2 questions we want to decide here is, do we want to get involved with suggesting that the city not spend taxpayers' money? And then secondly, do we want to get involved with making additional suggestions about how the city and Pizza Pub could spend additional money to make that action a little bit more effective in improving water quality for that area. Is that correct, Mike? Or maybe you want to comment about your suggestion?
Yes, Madam President, Manager Schmaltz, managers, so, right, so I've. In more recent months, we have, the board members as liaisons. And, and then I've had staff assigned to each one of the organizations too. And during our senior staff meetings, I have staff report on the minutes and things like that. So this is an item that came up, and then I presented it to Manager Smalls for the city of Forest Lake. Well, at the staff level, the concern was as much about the amount of impervious surface on the lot. So, and then who's really tracking that threshold? Again, we've been advised by the city of Forest Lake not to get our nose into their business, so to speak, is when it's their ordinance and things. However, there's a very direct implication of, potential damage to the lake itself, and then that is our business. So again, it's not necessarily a matter of trying to dictate or, recommend or anything to the city as to how they spend their money, because that certainly is, up to the council, with advice from staff. But, one thought I had was like, okay, because this is ongoing around Forest Lake. So staff and I have been talking about this. We've been encountering what appears to be more and more weekend concrete or impervious surface additions around the lake. And it's only going to continue, because if the current standard is 25%, and then somebody's creeping up to 30 or 33 or 35 or 40%, if nothing's done, then that's the new standard for everybody else that's just looking around the neighborhood. So it's this cumulative impact. And it's both from just simply a straight runoff standpoint, but separately, I've been, only out of curiosity, been looking at the thermal impact of impervious surface to water and water quality, because it's heating the water up faster, than which in turn is allowing for more productivity, if you will, of algae and things. So we're seeing these higher temperatures. And so while there isn't necessarily any specific research on this, and I'm trying to engage the Stormwater Research Council to take a look at this, but I think there's a thermal impact which has a subsequent water quality impact on lakes due to this impervious surface. So practices like things that are porous I think are going to be more and more critical into the future. So anyway, that's just the start of the discussion. There's no really response. It was just a communication, and I wanted to make sure the board is also just up to speed of what's going on out there in that particular parcel, given the other public implications. There's also, we've heard, there's a potential for more boat parking too, things like that. So, more pier space, more, this is another impact on the lake as well. More boat traffic, and of course there's another on the separate but along the same thing. There is which I'll probably send something, because there was something in the city council packet recently about the request for additional pier and parking at Tim's Marina. So quite substantial increase actually, so.
What's our rule for impervious on a lake lot? Do we have it?
Well, we have, yes, it would.
What's our rule? Do we have a certain percentage? Most cities have them, not all in Minnesota, but it's there for a reason, and that's so that the lot can absorb the water, so that.
City has,
Yeah.
25%.
Okay, good.
Madam Chair,
So, yes,
The district's rule, it's not a percentage, but the district would have a regulatory role for 5,000 square feet or more.
Okay,
Of impact.
Of-
Alright.
Of hard surface or packed gravel surface, yeah.
Okay, so what I hear us saying is that we're basically gonna move ahead on this. The other consideration is that, as you know, we're trying to work with Pizza Bob.
Madam President,
Chris, go ahead.
yeah, I just had a quick question. I run by there on a regular basis. And I noticed that grass was taken out and gravel was put in along the street where people were parking in the grass. Now it's gravel. How is that considered? Is that considered impervious or is that considered pervious?
Impervious. Class 5, because of all the fine materials, it does not filter through, it's impervious.
So when we talk about increasing impervious, we're talking about something separate to that, adding in these parking spaces, or is that what was done that's being discussed?
The latter, that the
Okay.
action has resulted in more impervious surface. Did not probably, I mean, for everything that I could tell, does not trigger the rules. However, you know, the totality, it's just the general topic of one is it something that we want to add for future discussion of rule revisions? So we have a kind of a growing list of things that we might want to tackle.
well, I'd say yes to that. My
So-
own opinion is to say yes to that, but we don't have any jurisdiction currently. It's all in the city.
Right, and that's as
Mhm.
Mr. Holman has indicated, so that's right, how we approach that.
Mhm.
But the other is then, you know.
Well, how could we approach it any other way than staying away from it? I
Well-
don't understand that. What are you trying to
Outside of
say?
the regulatory piece is the direct communication about a potential sharing of cost sharing, so
With us,
so
with the district?
yes, let me,
I'm not following this.
so
So explain.
all right, so say it cost $10,000 to dig that out and put in some gravel, whatever that material was, so. And then if it was twice that dollar amount for some porous pavers or some material like that, that would not create additional inputs. The additional 10,000, the above and beyond, if the property owner, and now we're talking about a broader, not just Pizza Pub, but just broader, paid half of that. And then the district and the city split the other half, so there's some, you know, because right now we're not making an impact. So through the impervious regulations of the city, so that would be an indirect way to have a potential. It's just an idea, just throwing it, because right now we're not making any inroads in this particular area of impact on our lake. A forest like that is, and other lakes, you know.
Well, I don't think charity is the answer. I mean, we don't have any responsibility for that area. It's the city's responsibility. And they're not breaking any of our rules. They might be breaking some of the rules from the city. I didn't look up all of those regulations under their ordinance. But, you know, my understanding is that they parked in this little corner, and I haven't driven by there to see it, but that can't hold many cars, right? I don't know how many it would hold. They're talking about doing 6-car spaces on the road, right in front of there. And so that's certainly nothing that we have anything to do with. It's a bad decision as far as I'm concerned, but we don't have any regulation authority on that. And I'm not sure that that little area of their lot is something that we should be sticking our nose in either. Because we have a clear rule, and I don't think that they're over our rule, correct?
Right.
Okay. to me, this was predictable because this lot, this position or this area wasn't right for this business. You know, that type of business gets really busy on the weekends. I'm sure that they own places around the state, so they know that it gets busy. They could calculate out the number of spaces they had and how much they really needed, but they bought it anyway, and so solving that problem is their problem, and then the enforcement of any ordinance is the city's, not ours.
Okay, well, we had a good discussion on this, let's move on then.
Well, let's just ask the board, it's not just you and I, it's those, the three other members, what do you, we're just informing them
Right,
of the situation right now, and so let's see what they have to say.
President
Manager-
Anderson,
Yes,
I guess
Manager
my
Rocky?
comment is I was a little disappointed with the city's reaction to Mike's involvement in this, was that this is none of your business. When we're trying to build a relationship with the city, they should be reaching out to us for advice or suggestions of how this might impact the lake, rather than saying this is none of your business. So I guess when we're trying to build a relationship with the city of Forest Lake and they're giving us this attitude, that concerns me.
Madam President, Manager Bach, just for clarification, that was a year ago with respect to the tree ordinance matter that occurred where a contractor came in and removed all the vegetation along the shoreline,
mhm,
including trees that were subject to the tree ordinance. And we made note of that as part of the permitting process, and we were in so many words, offered that feedback, you know, like that's the city's ordinance, you know, you gotta stick to your stuff, so. But that's an issue as well, we know that Forest Lake is ranked among the lowest in the state in terms of what's been inventoried in terms of natural shoreline. And there's not I mean, there's a direct correlation there, so we can see that impervious surface impacts are going to have a similar future degradation of Forest Lake if this is to continue.
yeah, where the violation has really occurred is that shoreline, taking out that, 15 feet, you know, by however long that area on the lake is, that shoreline on the lake, where they took down all the cattails. That hasn't grown back, they haven't planted anything to replace that, right?
You know,
So, you know, that's where our issue is. And the DNR complicates it, so that's the one I would be working on, not this parking thing. It's trying to get resolution to taking away a perfect natural shoreline. We do have something to say about that in our rules.
Mr. Holman, I think you were involved with that one, right? I think it's rather close.
I'm, yeah, I'm not precisely following the,
We have a rule on shoreline issues. Correct?
we
That
have,
I don't know if it's a rule or a guide, but
we have our buffer rule.
that's right.
We don't regulate tree removal or vegetation removal unless it's area that's within an area that has triggered our buffer rule and is subject to preserving the native vegetation.
Yeah,
My apologies, Mr. Holman, I thought you were in on some of the emails, so we had talked to the DNR about that particular site, and I thought we had brought it up to the board even, and so that.
this falls within the DNR's regulation.
Yeah,
They can
and
allow
so-
it.
yeah.
And the district
It
had.
did.
Our point was that we should have a more stringent rule with the DNR
Mhm.
because we're in such bad shape
Mhm.
shoreline wise. But that's something we're working on through some of your contacts.
Or, that's right, that's correct, and we haven't gotten any response, I don't think, to those contacts yet, so we need to follow up on that. But we could always do and consider a memorandum of understanding where we would take care of the shoreline areas with the DNR, and we'll see, you know. that happens. But anyway, that's where I see our responsibility for involvement, not the parking. That's all.
We
I
have
wanna
two other
say.
board managers.
Yes, we do. And Manager Lowe, let's go to you.
I will just say, generally speaking, I'm in agreement with what Manager Baki had said. And to me, it comes down to the interaction that we had with the city a number of weeks ago regarding the North Shore Trail project. How that was pitched to us versus what the reality of the process and the construction and the work that was actually going to take place were not one and the same. So whether or not we're talking about Pizza Pub or we're talking about them trying to get us to back off on some of our protections and areas that we were asking for sediment control to be placed, I find it very disheartening that they were not completely transparent with us, in my opinion, about what was going on. And I think we've run into a number of issues since this road project has started that the watershed is probably not too happy with. So in the long term, when I think about trying to get people to adhere to rules and enforcement, I mean, if the city isn't going to be accountable to what we're asking for, and I know Council Holtman mentioned something about the city being responsible for that first, any potential sediment that ended up in the Third Lake Pond due to their inadequate sediment control was their responsibility to fix. And I'm curious what, if any, conversation has come of that. But you know, just trying to get getting the watershed and the DNR and the city to work together for a common goal seems to be something that should be in everyone's best interest, and it seems to be very dysfunctional at this point. So it's kind of frustrating.
Mhm. That's true. Manager Taves?
We were frequent customers at Aqua before this point, and we never had a problem parking. And they did a pretty brisk business during the summertime. It seems to me that this organization is taking the path of least resistance and least cost, and kind of from a customer standpoint, it's kind of a slight to the customers because they can get away with it. So it may be within their rights to do it. It may be illegal to do it, but it kind of makes them look a little bit less than a good citizen. That's my statement on it.
Mhm. Agreed. Well, I think again, because we don't have any regulatory control over what's occurring now, to offer to share costs, to have a solution is outside of our jurisdiction, and we shouldn't be doing it. So, working with them to try to get them to cooperate, we've already shown those signs, and the regulations, the normal regulations for that type of area along the road project, was to use two of the control, I think they're called, I forgot what they're called, they're rolls of different. Thank you, biologs. The regulation was to do, and the standard way to do that area was to encourage and to regulate with two of those biologs. And the accommodation was made by the district to go down to one, because they were complaining about this $12,000 cost, as it was going to ruin their project. And so we did that, and we all know what happened. We got a big rain, and all of a sudden there were things creeping down off the road. So we got that report from Mike of, what was that, a month ago maybe? So I think we've done what we can do. we can talk to them constantly about the importance of working together. We've already had 2 meetings. Talking about that. We're gonna have another one here really soon on the floodplain project. And so, you know, it's done step by step, but when you've gotta have a other side of the conversation that's willing to at least listen and to accommodate the needs of the other party, and we're just not there right now with them. So I would continue to do it through meetings, but don't offer a prize for bad behavior. I wouldn't do that. Okay,
So just one last question. I had been talking to Blaine about another subject. He meant more about the rainfall and that, and he said they've had a number of complaints of stuff coming off the road because of the heavy rain. So are we noting this as it occurs and having having a report back to them? I just went to church at St. Peter's after the rain we had yesterday, and they were out shoveling gravel and dirt out of the street. And most of it had already gone down the drain. So it washed everything out. I mean, just completely washed it out.
Yeah.
So there's another example. So that should make, I don't know whether you can ticket them, but at least noted that there was a breach in protocol in terms of not controlling it. So getting back to Manager Anderson's point, we can point out that this wasn't followed, or look what happened.
mhm.
So I think that's something we should try to do if possible, Mike, but I don't know if staff can be alerted to that.
So, yeah, we had different calls from residents, and, Victoria had gone out yesterday,
Take pictures of it.
well, also just to engage the neighbor, because, right, there were 2, one was a, thing over in Iden, circle, that area in the south side of Forest 2, I think, that was flooding. Yeah, sure, we'll have a photo. So this is some other ongoing issues apparently had to do with collar elevations as to have
Any
so,
picture of this?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up.
and then, another one in, I can find in their permitting, but yes, that area was, Belch Park, that's a city project. Was, subject to some, overflows and, discharge into,
Lagoon, yeah.
Right. well, no, into Forest
Wow.
Lake itself.
That's what I mean, what the lagoon is right down.
Oh,
below.
right, okay, yes,
It's like
right,
30 feet away,
right, so you
and the
can,
storm sewer goes right into the water.
right, so the end of the storm, the pipe was, you could see it was filled with gravel. And so it clearly dumped right into the lake and stuff, so
What street is this?
this was an Iden, IDEN,
I don't
and
wanna drive by that. It's probably.
it's a little dead end over on Pioneer Point,
Mhm. Okay.
so.
Okay,
And but Bells Park is over by St. Peter, so, right across the street, the city issued a permit for it in, early June. So,
The picture of the park in the front page of the
Okay,
paper, Forest Lake paper.
I'll look it up online then. Wow.
Okay, all
that's
right, well, if
amazing.
if you can make a register of this and keeping a
Mhm.
running record, we should then have a report afterwards back to the city with pictures that we can get on.
Yeah,
And there's gonna be more of this because of, everything's full of water right now, so. If somebody leaves their yard sprinkler on, it's gonna run in somebody's yard.
I have to ask Ann a question. Are you on live? Yeah, okay. And, what do you recommend as the engineer when we have these big, flood events? I mean, you folks are down in the city, you can't be everywhere, you've got other clients. And you don't have to answer the question now, but maybe there's a protocol that we should devise for our staff on what we should be looking at. If it's a project area where the engineers are involved, I would assume that you want certain information to be gathered at that time.
That's correct, Manager, President Anderson. We also meet weekly and talk about any upcoming permit issues, and then staff has their inspection schedules, so they're aware of what projects should be inspected and what information to collect at those inspections. And that's why Victoria
I'm
responded to
talking about
this.
the gathering of data so that we can make an analysis of, you know.
Oh, I see.
What level rain did we get and, you know, and the impact that it had observationally on that particular area.
Certainly, all the data is available and we could, you know, if that's
Mhm.
something the board wishes us to look at for these sort of calls, and I think
Well,
the
these-
data
these-
is
these are-
available.
Yeah, these are the extreme events that we talk about, that we're planning for, right? And I just think gathering whatever information is helpful to you, our engineers, should be documented for the staff. Okay, all right, thank you. You guys can talk about that at your annual or your monthly no, it's weekly meeting.
Quickly, Madam
Yeah.
President, Manager, just so you know, yeah, so staff does already, we prioritize based off of the, you know, more regular inspections of sites that have, you know, that are higher risk, and we communicate with the permittees, you know, our goal, we remind them, is for them to have a successful project. This is not about trying to catch anybody afterwards, we are trying to prevent problems, so, and I think you know, the engineer, you know, and, when they staff and put together the original recommendation for the North Shore Trail project. You know, this is the cost, so to speak, of savings, and, you know, it's our understanding in the recent minutes that the. City received some favorable bids and saved roughly $1 million, which is great that they were able to do that, but then on the flip side. You know, having received favorable bids, and it would have been prudent on their part to have said, yeah, maybe let's reinvest it back in to protect the lake.
Right. That's a good point, very good point. And you should repeat that often to them. It's a good way to say it. It's a really good way to say it. Because what have they invested in the lake? Practically nothing in the scale of things. And to have a rating as low as that, I would think the city would be very concerned about the image that the Forest Lake has because of that. Do they not care? You know, there's all kinds of things, but I like the way you stated that. It's very succinct. Are we done with that topic?
Yep.
Okay. Next, old business, flood resiliency.
You wanted to add, business and operations.
Oh, is that, oh, yeah. Well, that's under old business though.
Oh, sorry, I thought you added.
No, it's under old business. And A, it's number C. So, A is the flood resiliency action plan. And who's going to talk about that? You, Mike, or Emily?
Or Ann is here as well, of course.
Or Ann, that's
I don't know
right.
if you wanna make the motion first and then have a discussion.
Yeah, we can do that. It's proper protocol. Who would like to make the motion?
I will make the motion to accept the draft flood resiliency action plan framework and direct staff and engineers to share the framework with the TAC and schedule meetings with cities of Forest Lake and Wyoming staffs to review and discuss future opportunities.
Thank you, Manager Taves. Who wants to second?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Manager Schmalz, we have our motion made and seconded, so let's open it up for discussion. Would that be you, Ann?
Madam President, Cecilio is here to speak about this
Oh.
topic.
Okay, thank you. I don't see him on my little vision
Sometimes you have to.
space here. Cecilio, you're on.
Yeah, yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, managers. I had the opportunity to present to you the previous meeting, the results of the study. It was pretty intense study, and were a lot of recommendations and ideas to potentially to share with the city and the cities, and then add whatever input they have to our report. Right now, the report is in a draft form. I had a chance today to go through it again, and maybe change a couple of mistakes there. But the idea would be to get any input from the board on that report, if any, and then be ready to start talking to city staff about the results and kind of having this dialogue, a conversation about the reaction of what they think. So the idea would be to go first to the technical staff, get some kind of agreement or at least being on the same page in terms of what the issues are and potentially solutions. And then after that will be for the board to meet with council and with council, city council, and then basically deal or talk about the issue here. The report, as I mentioned to you, is could be a little bit controversial because of the results. So we need to be very careful when we talk to the city, especially the technical people, and be able to put things in perspective and understand, not pointing fingers or anything like that, but providing the information that we think is important and do it from the point of view of working together. It's interesting that the board was discussing the previous picture with a flooding area. And the one thing that, not this report, but the model that we have created, what is interesting is that you could actually go and input the precipitation, the exact precipitation that was measured during that day or two, and the model will tell you what areas get flooded or not. So that particular picture would be a very good way to, once you put the precipitation that happened in that area, to actually verify and validate the model. So we do have the tools to be able to do this type of work and help the city from that perspective too.
Yeah, we haven't seen that, at least I haven't seen that presentation yet. I don't think I've missed a meeting. But that was the really genesis point for starting this project, is I saw something that Houston Engineering had done at a Metro Mod meeting. This is years ago now, for Rice Creek. And that's exactly what they showed us, on the computer screen up on the wall. And it was very, very surprising to see how impactful that was. When you can see, you can talk about 6 inches of rain or 12 inches of rain, and you know that it's a lot, and there's probably going to be some flooding, but to actually watch it on that screen go from 3 inches to 6 inches, and the difference is amazing, because when you're dealing with a low and a high, well, it's a high flood area, and a low, ground situation, you can imagine it, but it's just something else to actually visually see it. So I don't remember us being shown that part. So if we could schedule that for a board meeting so that we can all see what our partners are going to be seeing beforehand, that would be great.
The managers, we do have the ability to present that information almost in real time. I think we had a presentation with the board in which we were looking at the downtown area, Forest Lake, and we were kind of inputting the storm event, and then you could see how the flooding footprint changes to the maximum, and then after the storm event, how quickly the flood footprint recedes. That was a presentation that we gave. We can do that, and if there is a particular area in which we want to concentrate on, we can do that too.
Yeah. Well, I think we've got some new members too here, and so I just think it's helpful if we can see maybe that demonstration at our next meeting. It would be helpful. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, President, I think with that presentation by Cecilia and staff have done in December, we could perhaps resend the video for that section. Further understanding of what their capabilities are, because it does align with.
Well, if it's online, that's fine.
Yeah.
And if I missed that one, that was shortly after my knee surgery, so I may not have been here, and I may not have seen it. So Just tell me where to look for it on the website and I'll go there.
We'll get it out to the board then.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Okay, so did you want us to change this motion to accept the draft? I mean, this is a draft. So if there's edits to come, I know there's gonna be edits that are comments that maybe need to be incorporated. We can certainly put that into the motion, so that there's a clear understanding that we've got this comment period.
I think it does say draft.
It does say draft, but it doesn't say that, you know, we're going to accept comments from others. Would that help? Would that be sufficient for you? Okay. Well, people that, you seconded, right? So Manager Taves opened, or did the first motion. Let's just add a couple of words in here that deal with the accepting of comments, period.
I think draft is intuitively suggests that there will be some changes.
Mhm.
From partners.
Well.
Okay.
And board or staff too. Okay. And accept comments, maybe right after direct staff and engineers. To share the framework with the TAC. After comments have, been accepted. Does that sound good? So it's clear?
So are we setting a time frame for comments from the board members, Madam President, or from others?
No. The staff is gonna do it, and the engineers are gonna set a time frame. But what we're doing is just clarifying that, yes, it's a draft. And it might be intuitive that that means comments, but just to make it clear, we can add those words and then everybody knows. Nobody has to guess. And so going back to the Manager Taves, who proposed the motion, and Manager Schmaltz, who seconded, they would have to agree with that change.
Well, in this motion, we're accepting the draft, not the
Mhm.
final copy. So the final
Mhm.
copy would differ from this. That would include other input that's given after this point.
Mhm.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
would it,
Please.
would it express your point to just add at the end of the motion and to receive comments?
No, I think that's kind of misplaced, because you're talking about meeting with the cities of Forest Lake and Wyoming staffs to review and discuss future opportunities. So. Well, let's just leave it the way it is, honestly. I think Manager Taves, the more I think about it, draft means that. It doesn't mean it's final. And so, we've done this before where we have drafts and then we get the final report after those changes and comments and edits have been made. So I think that's self-explanatory enough. Now that I've thought about it a while, okay?
President
Manager
Anderson?
Yes, Manager Baki.
Yes, my interpretation of this motion is that we're just putting it out there and we're gonna get some feedback and there will be changes down the road. So yes, let's pass this and move it out there so we can get some feedback.
Yeah, I don't think we need that extra verbiage. Okay, very good. So the motion is as it stands.
Roll call?
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I guess just the last sentence, the last phrase where we just schedule meetings with the cities of Forest Lake and Wyoming staffs to review and discuss future opportunities. That's the key point. So I think having them comment about doing additional studies, but I thought the goal here is that we pointed out a lot of, I remember the report, as far as an action plan goes, you pointed out some short-term opportunities that are easy to do, some medium-term and long-term opportunities. Are we gonna try to work with them at that meeting to get commitment to And also you mentioned that this thing is, the success of this program is immensely dependent more on, not just on what we found out about where the flooding is, but who's gonna do the work and how it's gonna get paid for, and who's gonna be partnering with us. So are we gonna try to move getting clarification on those three variables at the meeting at the same time?
Madam Chair, managers, if I may.
Yes,
I think that start looking at opportunities, it will be way too soon.
Okay.
My concern is that I like to have a consensus from the board. Yeah, this is good in that shape. Be able to start talking to staff and just talking about the results of the study, brainstorming about that, because I think they're going to be receiving it like it's not going to be. They're not going to be able or be open to opportunities right away, because I mean, there's a lot of things there that need to be talked, need to be explained, need to be put in context. And then after, hopefully, staff agrees, you know, what the report says and the opportunities that are shown in there, then at that time we can maybe talk a little bit more about how we could collaborate and put things together. At the end is City Council, obviously, who is going to be making the decision. So their conversation with City Council will be also very important as part of this process. But opportunity, I don't know, maybe we talk about opportunities, but I didn't want to kind of push it too much. I mean, I see those meetings just talking, this is what it says, this is why it says, if they want clarification, if they, and then go from there.
There's an
Okay,
enormous,
you've been through this before, Celia, with the Rochester and so forth, so I leave it up to your judgment, that's fine. You know, I think eventually we have to get, in some time, get engaged with the city and finding out who's gonna do what, if anything at all. So, and it sounds like you've got your hand on how to do that as a second or third step, so we'll just roll with your experience then.
I think there's an enormous amount of information in this report that they're going to have to digest before they start making recommendations and trying to tinker with the information that's there. I think it's important to get this study out to them so they can start to think about the problem and what their role could be before we engage them to start messing with the information that's there.
yeah, my comment to those comments is that, or the position, I guess, stated is that the watersheds are supposed to be technical advisors as far as water issues go. That's one of our mandates from the state. And when we look at something this broad, you know, we're looking at the whole district. This is a whole district project. It's not being done by our sub watersheds. We're looking at all of that as one entity. And I hope that part of that process was looking at the floodplain issues that might have been identified already in the city's comprehensive plans. And so we know that data. We know what their problem areas are just from reading their comp plan. And if it's not there, then that's something that we could say to them, that we want to include, you know, those and make this a big project. I look at this as a big district project with cooperation from all of our local government partners. And that we will take responsibility for getting the grant that is necessary to do all of these projects. They're gonna have to be staged in priority order, which is what this first report does. It shows us where those priority areas are, and we're gonna be looking at those. There's one over in Washington County and Forest Lake area. There's one in Chisago County, you know, in the Comfort Lake zone. And so we've already got that baked into this current report that we're doing. And so, you know, and we've met with these folks now for what, year, maybe? You know, with the different meetings that we've had with the staff and the engineers from each of the government units. So I think they get that. And I think, you know, one of the things that they're gonna want to have some resolution to, but you may have talked about this already in previous meetings, is that we're just trying to do what we've been mandated to do by the state, and that's help these local government units and the entire geography of what's in our boundaries. And so we need that input from them, we want that input from them, and what we didn't glean from their comprehensive reports, then add to that, you know, just have something come up that they changed a location site or something like that to focus on. And then the part about the grants, that's so important because there's a lot of money out there for this very thing right now. And if they like cooperation, that's one of the foundation things of these big grants is to include not just yourself, your area, but others. And this is a perfect project to fit into that definition for the grants. And we're good at getting grants. We have lots of experience with that. They may have only done 1 or 2 or 3, you know, in the city at any given, you know, decade or so. So I think those 2 things make a very good opening statement to state that we're going to take care of the grant dollars. There may be on the 10%, there's usually 90%, 10% grants. So on that 10% area, maybe we get some buy-in from them in that way. Because the district shouldn't pay for all of it, but we can work out, those are details we can work out, but I think that's opening is make them understand that we're not asking them to give us lots of money. We just need their input. Yes, who is that? Manager Loth?
Manager Baki.
Manager Baki, okay.
Yeah, I follow what Cecilia was doing here. You know, before we can move people to action, we need to raise their level of concern. And I think that's what this report can do. And then that can then further lead us to action by all the partners in some form of collaboration. So I'm ready to vote forward in favor of this.
Yeah. Yeah. And we can talk about the introductions and all of that. The cover letter for this is under review right now by staff. And I want EOR, obviously, and to weigh in on it, or Cecilio, either one, so that we're stating everything correctly. But it was encouraging to find out how many meetings we've actually had in the past with these folks. And so the concept has been out there with them for months now. So it's not going to be a surprise to get this next meeting. So that's good. So it's organized very well in steps. Okay. Let's vote.
All right, Manager Lowe,
Aye.
Manager Schmaltz.
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Takes,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thanks for your
Okay.
hard work, Celio. It's really looking like a important project, and I think one that everybody will be happy with. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next is the state of the watershed.
My president manager, just pull back up. Yeah. Well, I laid out, basically a summary of where we're currently at and what the forest timeline is. And I guess if there's any particular questions there, but it'd be similar to what we had last year. Maybe the thing I didn't ask Adam, but I don't know, Troy, if you know anything about that. Not the nomination process right now. Specifically.
The nominations are open. There is a link on the website to them.
For the champion awards?
Yep.
Okay. All right, very good. This is exciting, having them annually now. And hopefully we get a good turnout like the first one. It's great. All right, next is C, that's just to inform the board that interviews were conducted on the business manager position and operations manager position. And that took place last week. And there were 2 finalists, 19 resumes submitted, correct?
Application.
Yeah, applications and, two were selected, by Ellen, our consultant in HR, and then Mike, the administrator, and, myself. And you couldn't make it, I think, that day, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah, so the three of us interviewed these two folks, and, they're both very good. There's one in particular that we like. And, just wanted to keep the board informed that, this is one of Mike's, SMART goals. So that ball is rolling. And we're going to be making, hopefully, an offer here in the next week, so. We might have somebody on board, probably not right away. Where's he from? North Dakota. He lives in another state anyway, and so it'll be a while before he comes. Yes,
Just a question, are you going to write up your summary of the interviews? Because I know Ellen wrote hers up in that first interview, and it was
Mhm.
helpful for me to read that.
oh,
And the other question would be, is this going to be, decision going to be made by the personnel committee, or is it gonna be made by the board?
well, I think the selection process was going to be made by the personnel committee and, Ellen and Mike, the interview process.
Okay.
And so we only had 2 interviews, right? We didn't have a whole big line of people. We
Right.
had 2. Because, okay, Mike and Ellen did the screening on the 19th, so go ahead. Mike.
Correct, Madam President, Manager, well, just, the initial interviews, there were 5 individuals that.
Okay, out of
People that
19.
qualified, right?
Okay, mhm.
And so the top candidates, so they were all ranked and scored. For our, well, for their, I guess, biggest Minnesota cities, recommended requirements of how to proceed with that, so.
Mhm.
We did those initial screenings and interviews, then made a recommendation to the work group rather. For the second.
Yeah, so
So you selected 2, but then is the final decision gonna be made by a vote of the board or by that committee?
it's up to the board. I mean, how involved do you want to be? Do you want to, have the full board vote on it? An interview, do an interview before the board?
Well, you've got resumes, and if you write up your comments from the interviews, that would be very helpful to everybody also. As treasurers, I had pointed out in some letters to you about information I thought we needed to have about the position.
Mhm.
You know, we're short of money going into the next 2 years.
Under your scenario, not mine. This position has been voted on by the board in the past. We had money in the budget for this year to add that position, actually last year too. But that didn't happen last year, so this year it's happening, and we've got the budget, we've got it in the budget. To hire this person.
Budget hasn't been approved for the next year yet, though.
I'm talking about this year, 2025.
Okay,
It's in 2025's budget.
okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
if I'm not lacking context, the administrator is authorized by the board to hire staff. And so unless the board made a special action in this case, I believe it would be Mike who would make the hiring decision.
mhm. Yeah, that's a good point. I did bring this up. Because I remembered to say that at the end of the interview sessions, Mike and Ellen and I talked, of course, about different things about the candidate and so on. And after the candidate left the Zoom call, then we talked about this mechanical stuff and timeline and so on. And I did bring that up, that Mike actually has been given that authority by the board. And so
Right.
it's, it's up to him to do it. Unless the board decides that they want to be the choice. Or if not be the choice, but to always meet and interview. Before we make a decision, okay?
Fine.
Is everyone okay with that on the board, the other board managers?
I would prefer not to be involved in this.
Okay. I understand, your time's ending soon.
No,
Manager
not,
Tate?
no, I believe it's not the board's decision to make. Oh, that's all
Okay.
I'm saying.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I feel this is one of the reasons we have Mike in the position he's in, so.
Okay, all right, very good. Manager Baki,
I agree with the other two managers.
thank you. All
I'll
right,
make-
well, we'll just,
Can I make one more comment?
sure.
I think we should be careful if said candidate is maybe listening in or plans on listening to the interview. It might send mixed messages if we're interviewing them and then questioning whether or not we have the money to justify their employment. So
Mhm. Yeah. Agree with that. Anything you wanted to add, Mike?
No, Madam President, managers, I think, one of the things is that, looking forward to receiving the input from Redpath on the other financing structure, because there will be a fiscal impact of any additional hires, and so, that certainly needs to be a factor in consideration, how to move forward. We did previously at different times already have discussed some opportunities for savings to help pay. This is how we've done other hiring in the past, where we're currently contracting things out. We would pull that money back in, both in terms of money spent on HR and on Redpath in particular. And then could potentially free up some other staff for doing more grant research and writing and things like that to help facilitate that. In addition, you know, there are certainly certain things that I could be doing in the same area in terms of bringing in more revenue. If some other tasks were freed up for my time to do
Yeah,
that. So,
which was all part of the discussion when we decided to create this position, now 2 years ago. And put it in the budget for this year, so, we need to move forward on it as far as I'm concerned, and there will be savings. As you mentioned, those two are certainly ones, and we could probably add a few more when we sit down and really think about all of the other savings that are going to occur. These are very highly skilled people. And the two that we met and have great experiences to bring to the district. So I'm glad we're moving forward. All right, next item, report of staff, administrator.
Madam President, managers, so one, prior to the meeting, Manager Loth had asked me to discuss any impacts of the rainfall, and we've discussed those already, so I think we've got that covered. I did want to, make note, because I don't think, I don't think I said anything at the, last meeting, but since there was some talk about some of the other statewide issues, and we'll get the resolutions discussion that was made at the June 12th meeting. We'll get that video out to the full board for your review. Mr. Coleman, council's summary there, Mr. Holtman. But the summer tour was up in Roseau, and it was very interesting. I'm glad I made the trip. There was a lot of discussion about this, the DNR piece in particular, at several different meetings. Then to the tour itself, just to see how just flat the country is up there. But also then how, did give me some appreciation for how they addressed some of the things, but some of the ongoing, or some of the water resource issues. But I did take note of the fact that I was really surprised it was a MnDOT project within the city, and there was no erosion sediment control. There was a culvert half full of sediment so I took a picture of it.
No.
And so, in meaning to send it to Dan Fabian, the former state representative, who's now the mayor, to just highlight, an ounce of prevention with a pound of cure, right? So, because it was not a great distance from the river itself. But then also just that, one of the sites we went at, they were looking at is that they built this large drainage way, and to address. They said, because a 2-inch rain would result in, this water just sheeting across for miles, because it had nowhere to go, so creating this large. But so one is the cultivation practices, so from an from a soil health and, so from that perspective, it's just. Focusing more, that's an area that clearly needs, in my observation there was more help in developing soil health practices for infiltration. But also the amount of recreational mowing that was going on along ditches and roadways by the farmers.
Mhm.
So when they say like, you don't have money, I mean, it was just like, cause I even asked the Bowser person when at the one stop,
Mhm.
I was just like, why? I said, given how much effort that we're trying to put in to create pollinator habitat. I said, why is this whole project mold? He says, well, the farmers, they just like to do that. And they said, well, why isn't it a condition of the grant? Well, we considered that, but but it was just like, well, just because they like to see it mowed, we don't do that.
Mhm.
But they put conditions on us all the time. I was very disappointed in that because I mean, it was just, probably the literal hundreds of miles of road ditches that are mowed.
Mhm.
And you've missed the opportunity for pollinator habitat, let alone, the compaction that occurs when you're driving on it and all these other things. So the negative impacts of all that, cultural practice was quite striking to me. But overall, it was a good tour. I was glad I went. And they did a great job organizing it, the staff and Minnesota Watersheds, Jan and them, so.
Good, thank you for that. Anything else? I have a question, though. You mentioned, one of the managers asked you for details on the flooding in the last rain events. Did you do any, well, when people were calling, you said there were a lot of people were calling in, right, about the flooding? Right?
Yeah, we had residents contact us, right?
Yeah, how many calls did we get?
Well, I think it was like an email, and then I think the same individual,
Oh,
without naming it, that,
so not a lot of people were calling, worried about it.
well. The neighborhood was collectively and one person
Okay.
contacted us. And so, and it was, apparently it's a combination of things in that, Hayden Avenue area, or Circle, of,
The same one where the picture was taken?
correct.
Okay,
That, that led to it,
Okay.
improper elevations of infrastructure.
I was just curious if we had it from all over the district or just,
No,
sounds like that one area.
no, then a separate one from the Belts Park, the resident there that.
What part?
Belts.
Belts, okay.
City, that's the one over by St. Peters that
Mhm.
was discharging directly into Forest Lake, into that.
And that's what you were talking about.
Right.
Yeah. Mhm. Okay, good. Thank you very much. Any questions of Mike? No? Okay, next is EOR.
Madam President and managers, in addition to what we've already discussed during the meeting, I would also just like to update you that we are in full swing with our monitoring, both diagnostic and stream monitoring. And we're also observing the chloride and bottom phosphorus levels as they come in from the lake monitoring. Good news is that the chloride concentrations in the bottom waters continue to be low. We are also looking forward to having Britta Hansen come to your meeting on Monday to discuss interviews results with with the architects that she and Kevin and staff have been working on. So we will see you on Monday with that information.
Very good.
That's all from us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, will you talk just briefly to the board about what work you're doing in Chisago County with lakes? I think they would find that very interesting.
First, so EUR is working with Chisago County on a comprehensive lake management plan for each of their lakes within the county. So that's a lot of lakes, over 60 lakes, and we're providing. We've already kind of went through and provided goal setting exercises of 12 different areas of concern for lake ecology and recreation, ranging from water chemistry to overcrowding and safety issues. And then we also put together a comprehensive list of all of the data that they've collected on each of the lakes in the county. And then the next thing we're putting together is what I'm calling management pathways or lake management pathways to give them an idea of where each of these lakes are in terms of their lake management cycle for each of these concerns, so that they can have kind of a catalog of where their data is going, how they're progressing to their goals, and what are the possible next steps for each of these lakes. And that will be due by the end of the year to the county and be widely shared. And of course, the lakes that are within Chisago County within the district are also included in that analysis.
Yeah, I think that's very exciting. 60 lakes is a lot of lakes in the county. So I was working with the their water committee folks, and then also my representative for the commissioner on the county board. He's been in a long time. I've known him a long time, 35 years or so. And there's been this real turnaround with Chisago County as far as interest in their lakes. And so that's been really encouraging as well. This degradation is happening. Those are highly recreational lakes and fishing lakes. A lot of people come to Chisago County. And so it's really interesting to see that transformation. And obviously, Washington County, we have a good relationship with Fran, but there's a lot more watersheds in that county, and so they're managed. They've been around a long time. So anyway, I just wanted the board to know about that. And as long as we're talking about Chisago County, one of the things I wanted to ask about is having our lake depth information added to the list of the Chisago Lakes area. So that on a weekly basis, the folks in Chisago County that get that newspaper will see the Comfort Lake levels just like they do with any of the other lakes in Chisago at that point. So the board doesn't have any objection. I would like to start giving that information to Chisago County.
Just a question, Van?
Yes, please.
And by chance, do you know how that project was funded?
Yeah, that project was funded by ARPA, which is a emergency response federal grant that they got. It was just a small part of that funding that they received.
It was the second part of a grant that the Comfort Lake Association got for starting the carp survey. And we could not get that information in time to, at the end of last year, to apply for that second part that we were owed. So it may not be all of the money that was for this project, but a good chunk of it came from that. So, yeah, we worked with the county pretty closely to tap into some of that federal money that was coming to the counties on projects that we wanted to do faster than the district was getting to. So it helped.
Thank you, Ann.
Okay, thank you for that. Next is Smith Partners.
I have nothing to report, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We need no new laws. Thank you. Next is report of the treasurer.
Yes, I'll report that income for this month was $120,754, and $112,000, almost $113,000 of that was from the grant we got from the Board of Water and Soil Resources. So again, another major grant coming and helping us to cover those costs. So the total expenses for the month are $201,764.84. And after paying that bill, we end up with actually total funds of $1,844,000 and change. But after you take all the restrictions of that money away, we end up with a final cash balance of just $158,439. So cutting it pretty tight for the first 6 months, but as you know already, we've got over 900,000 coming in from the, second, or the first part of our levy for this year, which would be over 900,000, so we'll be well over $1 million in cash starting here in the end of July.
Mhm. That hasn't come in yet? I thought we got that.
That
It
comes
came
in
at the
in,
very beginning of July.
right,
Yeah.
So it hasn't come in already?
it's come in, but it's not on the books.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it'll be on the books next month, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
It came in.
Yeah,
that's the.
July 3rd, so.
Right.
So I'd like to ask the board then to accept the treasurer's report and to also, make a motion to pay the expenses for the month, which is $201,764.84.
And then do you wanna make bank transfer as well?
The bank transfer will be
It's right there on this. it's-
112,000, no, I think that's the old number, isn't it?
No, the last one was 87.
Mhm.
Oh, it was, okay, $112,140 for the bank transfer.
I'll make that motion to accept the treasurer's report and pay the bills and do the transfer.
I will second that.
Manager Logue,
Aye.
Manager Schmaltz,
Aye,
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Takes,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Let's move on to report of officers and managers. So let's start with you, Manager Taves.
Well, I'd just like to give a shout out to our citizens who go out and do the water samples. I was happened to be home this last couple days with my brother in town and saw Amy out on the lake on a paddle board out doing the samples. It always makes me smile when I see her because she bailed me out after my back surgery, I couldn't get in a kayak anymore. And so she offered to take that over for me and has been doing a great job for us. So to all the people who volunteer to take those samples for us, kudos, we appreciate your help.
Nice. All right, Manager Lowe.
I have nothing to report, Madam President.
Thank you. Manager Baki.
Yes, I'd just like Tori to know that I did get a postcard from Santa after his visit on Beaumont for the 4th of July. He did make it home safely to the North Pole, and he is watching to see who's nice and naughty.
Thank you for the report.
I have a question for Manager Baki. Is Santa gonna be on the pontoon boat tour?
No, unfortunately, he's too busy making toys for all the good boys and girls.
Alright.
He, I think Manager Schmaltz wants his coal early this year.
Yeah. Nicely
It's gonna be a full winter.
done. Nicely done. The only thing I wanted to bring up is, you've got a packet or some information, I think, from Mike on the Lower St. Croix, right? You sent it to all managers?
Correct.
Yes, okay, good. The only thing, that I read through the rest, but the one thing that I wanted to just talk about a little bit, so you know, this kind of ongoing drama that we have with how the Lower St. Croix was set up. Or, do you have that? Yeah, do you have that chart? Okay. Well, I'll start the narrative. The idea behind this, it's set up like a partnership. And it's very cumbersome and very clumsy. Yeah, not that one. It's the attachment with the chart. That.
This is all I have.
The square,
This
oh,
is the,
okay,
the memo that they sent out. This is the only thing I have.
okay, all right. Well, it doesn't matter. I'll just talk about them. The entity that we wanted, of course, was a separate entity, set up like a watershed. And having staff that was not part of the people that are part of the partnership or part of the area. And we wanted it run like a watershed. You know, that's basically the bottom line. And we didn't win on that one. And so it was set up like a partnership. And this partnership is just an agreement with 16 entities that are in the Lower St. Croix area. And the staff are staff from the partners. Most of them are the Soil and Water Conservation District people. And so all of these committees that, not, the policy committee is the one that I'm on. The committees that are actually the operational guts of this process are, Emily is on it from our district. She can talk more in depth about it, but basically they make all the decisions. And we've got 2 grant processes through the year. And one's in the spring and one's in the fall, where entities or partnership members can submit their requests for grants. And excuse me, and so those winners basically come to the policy committee for just a rubber stamp, basically. So, what it appears to me when I read the minutes, we meet quarterly. When I read the minutes quarterly, before these meetings, I really see a strong trend that a lot of the money is going to the soil and water conservation people. And there aren't a lot of representatives from watershed districts that are on these committees, like I said, and if the committee is 10, for example, 2 of them might be watershed, the rest are all soil and water. So we have a disadvantage to that. What this particular issue is, every year, I insisted that we look at the method that we were structured with starting out, and we reevaluate that each year. And each year, we have a member from Washington County that is really strong, and people tend to follow his lead always. But when he's not there, he was only there 2 years, I think, for other reasons he couldn't come. And when he was not in the meeting, all the other members really wanted to be an entity, but would not vote that way when he's present. So we're still fighting that fight, and the presentation is for 3 different entity styles that are still in a joint powers type agreement. And we're still gonna be dealing with this sort of lopsidedness, and also the clumsiness of it, because every time a decision is made by the policy committee, it has to go out to all the partners and be approved by, I think it's 75% of the partner base. And so it just is really clumsy to get things moving at a faster pace, which is what we're used to. And I'm going to oppose that again, and make the case again for doing a separate entity structure. So I just wanted the board to know that. I'll probably be the only no vote on that issue, but I wanted you to know the background. Okay, so that's it. I'm sorry.
No, oh,
Oh, yes.
yeah,
Manager Small,
yeah,
I'm
nothing
sorry.
to report, thank you though.
Thank you.
Troy.
Yeah, thanks, Troy. Okay, did I miss anybody else? Okay, good. Summary and approval of board direction.
Madam Chair, managers, a few items. First, Mr. Kinney and I will meet with managers Anderson and Schmaltz regarding the resolutions. Manager Schmaltz asked that staff keep a record of the conditions of the North Shore Trail work to assess later and communicate later with the city regarding sediment control and so forth. Mr. Kinney advised that he will provide the managers access to the EOR dynamic presentation that was given in last December. President Anderson asked that staff provide the district's lake level data to Chisago County each week. And that's what I have.
Sure. Actually, I can do that myself. You don't have to burden staff unless it's something they want to do. Staff will do it.
No, but I mean, once it's automated now, right? So,
Oh, okay, so they can just pull it off the website.
correct,
correct,
if there's
okay.
a question.
All right.
They get, or they used to get it sent to them weekly anyways,
Oh, did they?
yeah, they just never included it in with their, cause I don't think it's part of the lake management district.
No, no, it isn't,
No.
but it's the Chisago Lakes.
But yeah, I just thought maybe.
Yeah,
the
lake in the
zone
area.
wants That.
No, I'll talk to them about it, okay? All right, is there anything else? Yes,
Madam President, could you just verify on the flood resiliency plan that we're gonna distribute to the cities?
mhm.
Are we planning, the way the motion was written is that we're gonna start that communication and distribution? Or are we waiting on your letter to go with it then, or how?
Well, the letters in the hands of Emily and Greg and you to review and make sure everything I put in there is accurate. Emily got her comments back to me this morning, I think. Yeah, I think it was this morning. So I've already got hers. She and I had a conversation about it by phone too yesterday. And there were a couple of things that I had noted that I wished I'd put in. She did that for me, the history, and yeah, so I'm waiting. Greg was out of town, I think, so. Yeah, so I want you to look at it. And then the next step for me was to send it to the board for comment and see if there's anything they would like to add to it. And then I think your staff is going to set up, once we have that right, then it's going to, maybe I should send it to EOR too. I should send it to EOR maybe, or any input that they would like to have in it. And then once that's done, the key players, then staff is going to set up a meeting time with the cities, right? And get them to make whatever comments they want to make it. And then, oh, not the letter, excuse me, not the letter. They're going to be able to comment on the floodplain report, which will go out with the letter. So once we've gone through staff, EOR has a look at it, the board has a look at it, and it's all final, that letter then can be delivered or however you're going to dispense it to the cities. And so with that letter, there will be an ask for a meeting time. So, and then I think Emily's gonna be the one to call them. I don't know who is, but in person, but she'll call them and absolutely get dates down on the calendar for the meetings to start.
For the council, but on the plan itself, staff, we can start communicating with the city staff and getting feedback on the plan itself.
Yeah, well, I thought it's not going to the council until it goes through the staff.
Correct, okay, so.
Yeah, so that's how that's gonna work.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, clarify that we're not holding up the plan review process, the draft version.
No,
Okay, thank you.
my understanding is what's going with this is the strategic plan and the report that we just, our draft copy that we just approved.
Yep, I just wanted to make sure I heard
Yeah.
you correctly, so thank you.
And before it goes to the council and to the public, we want the comments from our partners.
Mhm.
So if we need to change, this letter is just meant for them. There are some words that need to change if it's going to the councils and the general public. Okay, all right.
So, no,
So it's off the computer and it's now in paper form or electronic form with your staff and you. Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. That's it. Anything else?
Do we have
All right.
signers for checks?
Check right here if you want to.
Yeah, I'm just gonna sign them here. And we don't have as many checks because we streamlined that process to get more electronic transfers. And so the check quantity has gone down quite a bit. And then if Steve has time, he can do it tonight or come in tomorrow and then he does the matching with the invoices and the verifications.
Okay.
Okay. But thanks for asking. All right, with nothing else in front of us, I declare the meeting to be closed.
Motion to
There's
adjourn.
second.
It's
Motion to
not, it's
adjourn.
not. Yeah,
We do need a motion to adjourn.
oh, we do? Okay, motion to adjourn. Who wants to make it?
I'll move that we adjourn.
All right,
I'll second.
all right.
Right, Manager Lowe,
Aye.
Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Bachke,
Aye.
Manager Taves,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. Good
Good
meeting,
night.
everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.